Hi guys, welcome to my demo of Pro Writing Aid, which I have integrated into Microsoft Word. Now I'm using Word 2010, and I bought a lifetime license to Pro Writing Aid probably about 6 years ago. And I find it an invaluable tool for running scans of my own manuscripts as well as those of my editing clients. So you'll notice that there is a Pro Writing Aid tab right here in the Microsoft Word toolbar, and if we click on it, then it brings up all of the features and scans that Pro Writing Aid has to offer. Now you can see that there are quite a few of them. I don't use all of them. For example, I've never run an alliteration scan or a homonym scan. I never run a plagiarism report, an acronym report, or use the word cloud. However, the scans that I do use frequently, I find extremely useful. So I started a grammar scan before I queued up this video, and you can see that it has found 18 possible grammar errors and 14 possible spelling errors. And if we scroll through it, that's what these purple and yellow highlights reflect. Now, this particular manuscript has not gone through any spell check or any other grammar checks. I just wanted to use a totally clean manuscript so that I could clearly show you exactly what kind of issues that Pro Writing Aid detects. But normally, I would run like the Microsoft Word scan first and a Google Docs scan, the spelling grammar checks, and I would run the free Grammarly scan, and then this would pick up where everything else left off. But I didn't want to have a heavily marked up manuscript for you to try to figure out what I was doing here. So let's take it one by one, and we'll just go through some of these as an example. So let's start with the grammar issues, and the punctuation mark, the quotation mark may require a space after it. So if we agree with it, we just click on it and it makes a change. Okay, and then we'll go to the next one, which is exactly how Margaret liked it. It thinks because the sentence starts with which that this is a question. So it's suggesting a question mark, but this is just a stylistic choice by the author, which is exactly how Margaret liked it. It's not a question, so I'm just going to ignore that. We'll go to the next one. It's suggesting an apostrophe here, so we'll click on that. You'll notice that the purple reflects the grammar issues, and the yellow reflects the spelling issues, so that's why it's skipping over those for now, because I'm only going down the grammar issue list. So it is suggesting that we need an or the in front of little. I'm going to ignore that because I don't agree with that. And you just have to use your own judgment with any of these scans. Sometimes it has good suggestions and sometimes it doesn't. Like some hyphens here for 10-year-old, so I changed that. Father, it is suggesting that it needs an for a the, which it doesn't, but I'm actually going to capitalize this because it sounds like father is being used as a name, as a title. Okay, so let's go here. It appears that you have an unnecessary comma. Okay. This is suggesting a hyphen. I am going to... Oh. Okay, somehow we got on the spelling scans, and I want to stay with the grammar. You might need a comma, so we'll do that, and a hyphen. Okay. So that's enough of the grammar for now. Let's just take a quick look at the spelling issues. I'm going to skip over a few of these because this manuscript is written in British English and it's suggesting some American English spellings here instead. So I'm just going to skip over those because I want the UK spellings. That's what the author chose to include. But let's go to some that look like actual spelling errors. Protruding. Okay, this should actually be protruding, and for some reason it thinks we want partridge. Again, you got to use your judgment with any of these programs. I've seen issues like this and all kinds of spell checks. So it did call my attention to the fact that there was something wrong with this word, though. Okay, let's go to here. I'm not sure what that means, so I'm going to skip it. Sometimes all of these spell and grammar checks will highlight a character's name or a place name, so you can add it to the dictionary if you don't want it to keep highlighting it every time it comes up. Okay, this is a misspelled word. It should be quiet. It thinks I mean quite, but it did call my attention to the fact that there was something wrong with it. Here, yep, this was misspelled. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what the grammar scan looks like. Let's say we've gone through all of these and we want to clear these markings. Just put a space there. You come up here and hit clear, and then all the markings will disappear. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video while I wait for a style scan to load up. Okay, the style scan is finished loading. So let's take these categories one by one. 21 readability enhancements were found. So let's see. This is suggesting that we might want to change the spelling of all right. So I'll go along with that. And again, the different categories are in different colors. So it's suggesting that we delete brief because it's redundant. A moment is brief, so we go along with that. Okay. Suggesting we cut more importantly. I will leave that for now. Okay, here it's suggesting that we cut out to be finally able and just use finally. So finally. So you can either make the change by clicking here, or you can just make it directly on the manuscript. Okay, I'll just do a couple more. All right, I'm just going to skip over this one. It's suggesting that we just delete to id. I think it reads okay as it is. I think this is a good suggestion. Instead of I'll go and help find Isabel, I'll help find Isabel. Okay, let's do one more. She gulped it down, quickly making sure to lick her wooden spoon clean. It's suggesting that we change it to licking her wooden spoon clean. Okay, so let's try a different category. Let's pretend we fixed all of these. 11 passive verbs found. So let's take a look at these. And the passive verbs are in yellow. If you click on it, it offers you some suggestions of how to make it more active. This is in dialogue, so I'm just going to leave that. Yeah, I think this will take a little bit of revising, so I'm going to skip over it for now, but I think this is a sentence that could benefit from being made more active. Here, we could say blood covered her fingers. I think this could be made more active, but again, it's not a quick fix. It's something that would take a little time to revise, so I will skip over that. Let's see. It's suggesting that we might want to do something with this. Like we could say, when you get there, ask for Baron Pitt's residence instead of for the residence of. I'll leave that for now. Now, for style improvements, it wants us to delete deep and just have she took a long breath. So I'll approve that. Can you replace breathe heavily with a stronger verb? And it suggested panting. Okay. I have to, when I make the change, it kind of skips down. I just have to go back up to where I was. Quickly followed it suggesting that we use a stronger verb such as pursued or chased. So I'll change it to pursued. So I really like this scan because it can really help authors who are struggling to make their writing more active by just pointing out a lot of these passive sentences. So let's go to another category. Adverbs found in your dialogue. Use adverbs sparingly. So you might want to change or cut out some of these. And then 27 adverbs found outside of dialogue. So it's nice how it differentiates between the dialogues that are between the adverbs that are part of the dialogue and the ones that aren't part of it. And this is a lot of adverbs for just 16 pages, so I would definitely cut out some of these. Not all of them. I mean, I'm not anti-adverbs, but definitely we could cut out some of these. Especially if some of them are on the same page, like we have a roughly, a barely, and a frantically. For example, here we could say, like the raging river stifling her cry, something like that. And it's also, we'll look at repeated sentence starts. So it only found one, but for example here, every line in this paragraph started, every word in this paragraph started with I. So we might want to rework that a little bit. Instead of I jumped when I saw her, we could say when I saw her, I jumped. 3 possible emotion tells. So this is indicates possible telling instead of showing. Until she was happy, although we are grateful. This isn't dialogue, so I think that one is okay. But this one could be made more vivid. And again, this one isn't dialogue. So I find this style check a really helpful scan. And if we want to clear all these markings, again, we go up to clear. And let's see. I will try a sticky sentences check or a diction check. So let me pause the video. Okay, so this was a sticky sentences check. And it highlighted them in purple. So let's just go through them. try to reduce the number of glue words to make the sentence more readable. Glue words include would, be, out, for, on, a, like, or this. We could change this to nobody would search for her on a morning like this, but I'm going to leave that for now. Here, like instead of at 13 years of age, we could say at 13, Margaret wanted more out of life. So this is a little wordy also. Several boys from the stables ran out to see what the commotion was all about. We could say something like, several stable boys ran out to check out the commotion. Something like that. But you can see how that got rid of a lot of those glue words. Okay, so I won't change any more of those for the sake of time, but if we scroll down, this is useful information for the writer, that it just calls their attention to sentences that might have a lot of vague words or prepositions. So it's just sentences that can be tightened. So if you see a lot, especially on a page, that's a good place to start. Okay, so I am going to clear these and then pause the video while I run a diction scan. Okay, this report provides a list of possible diction problems, highlights vague and abstract words in your writing, and provides suggestions on how you might revise them. So it's saying that down might be vague. I am okay with leaving that. So this could be tightened a little bit. For example, made her feel alive, we could say, and energized her or invigorated her. Let's see what else. Example here, we could delete the all instead of what was Laura Gordon's daughter doing out here all alone. We just say alone. We could delete really thought of her. And just say what she thought of her. So it just gives you some indication of where you might cut some of these kind of vague words. You don't have to cut all of them. But if you use like several on the page, for example, down was used a few times on this page, or then it just makes it jump out so you can evaluate whether you want to change any. Example, Margaret sobbed in the sun's silence all around her. I would just say sobbed in the sun's silence. Like after what seemed an age, that can be made stronger. Margaret looked up, but we could say, instead of but didn't say anything, but didn't speak. It's a little tighter. Okay, so I think that was everything for diction. So I'm going to clear this and run another scan. So let me pause the video. Okay, so this was an overused word scan. So feel, feeling, felt. felt was used 9 times, feel was used 5 times, feeling 2. So that is a lot, and this is a very common overused word, or these phrases are all very frequently overused. So we could say, instead of it felt so liberating, how liberating. Instead of it was a feeling she'd experienced, we could say something like she had sensed this many times before. Okay, here it is saying that we might want to cut down on some of these ing words. I would just worry about it if they're on the same page, if you have several on the same page. So I think we're okay with those. Went was used 3 times. And again, it's not too bad. But if it was used a lot on the same page, then that would be something to definitely consider revising. And here are some of those felt, feeling. All right, so let's just try a couple more scans. Okay, so this was a dialogue tags check, and it just highlights all of your dialogue. Oops. Okay. So sometimes it's easier just to kind of scroll through it. Okay, so let's look for those yellow highlights, and it just makes things jump out, like if you said several times on a page, or maybe if it's hard to tell who's speaking if you have multiple characters. It just kind of really highlights your dialogue so you can take a closer look at it. For example, here, we can just combine that. For example, here, we could just cut out the said because it's obvious who's speaking. And then here I can see clearly that there's a punctuation error. There should be a period. This is a possible place where we might want to use an exclamation point because it reflects screaming. Okay, the last scan I wanted to show you was the consistency check. And this looks for inconsistencies in your manuscript. For example, it'll look at spelling. Here it's mentioning that I have some UK spellings mixed in with the US spellings. That's okay because this is a British English manuscript. But it might also tell you, for example, if you spell the character's name a couple of different ways, such as Francis with an E and Francis with an I. So it's nice to be able to see those little inconsistencies that you probably overlooked if it's coming up here. It'll also look at hyphenations. For example, here, wide-eyed is hyphenated. And if we click on next, here it isn't. So we would want to add a hyphen here and make that consistent. It'll check capitalization consistencies. This one isn't quite as useful. Here it's highlighting the fact that river is capitalized in one place and isn't in another. But this is actually grammatically correct because river is being used as a proper noun. This is the name of the River Mersey. And here, this is a less specific reference to the river. So there's a lot of those river ones. But it can come in useful for titles, for example. Like we have We have some references in this particular manuscript to master and lady. So we can see that lady is capitalized here for Lady Isabel. If there was another reference where lady wasn't capitalized for Lady Isabel, then this would help it to stand out. So it's worth just taking a look at the capitalization inconsistencies and seeing if there's anything that you should be aware of, but there may be a lot that you can disregard also. Another thing I like here is that it looks at the consistency of your quotation mark style. Many authors unintentionally mix curly quotes and straight quotes. This is an example of a curly quote. You see how it's a little bit more curved, and the straight ones, just like the name implies, they're straight. And sometimes those just accidentally get in there. And it's nice if this will point that out for you and let you know if you have a problem with this and how big of a problem, and help you to find them so you can fix them. The same thing for the ellipses style. It'll help you to make sure that you're using a consistent style for the dots of the ellipses. I also like that it will look at your use of the serial comma, or the Oxford comma, which is the last item in a series of at least 3 items. You have the option of whether you want to use a comma there. And if you choose to, you just want to make sure you do it all the time. You don't want to use a comma in the last of a series on some pages and then not use it on others. So I like that this will check that for you. So those were some of my favorite scans. And as I indicated, there are also some that I haven't experimented with. So there's definitely a lot to play with here. If you're interested in finding out more about the Pro version of ProWritingAid and the different options they offer, you can visit their website. I have the link included with this video. And I definitely recommend checking it out. So I hope you found this little demo helpful, and thank you so much for watching.